Welcome to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series. We are back here in Montreal, Canada to bring you our second half of the quarterfinals. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, there is StarCraft being played here, and it has been oh so good. I'm your host, Nathanius, joined by Fear Dragon and Pig, as we get ready to move into another exciting match. Pig, I know that you've been playing so many other races than Zerg in the last year and a half. We gushed over TvT. This is sure to be a great match.
It is, right? It's not just a TvT, it's a Chinese Terran in the round of 8 in the quarterfinals here, and that's exciting because we just don't get to see that too much. It's been a long time. I don't know, has it ever happened? Someone can look that up for me. Essentially, it's very rare. Time has shown fantastic play to get here. He managed to make it through the Crucible. That is a best-of-5 series with Haas, and that alone makes me want to cheer really hard for Time.
Anybody who comes out of a best-of-5 against Haas victorious, if you were a child, you are now a fully grown, probably bearded adult. And that's a hell of a task to go up to.
Everyone's hair's turned white after that series.
Fear Dragon, you ready to break that down for us? You got the stats?
Ooh, okay, so it's pretty interesting. I was actually polling a bunch of the players on who they thought was going to win. Now, interestingly, I think that a lot of the European players, this is the less interesting part, were like, oh yeah, HeroMarine's got this. European badass. This HeroMarine's really good. Scarlet and a handful of the other players were actually saying they really think that Time is going to do better, and apparently a lot of people are saying that they don't think HeroMarine has a very good TvT because they say, well, the Europeans just don't know how to play TvT. They barely have anyone to play. Specials apparently also been giving Time a bunch of builds, and I think they've maybe been practicing a little bit together.
That, to me, comes off as scary. Special is one of the players that has been struggling a little bit more in the circuit. I mean, not even able to make it this far, of course, but... And I say that, he's got a ton of points, but he's not this particular tournament, we haven't been able to see him. But TvT is something that we know him to be extremely good at.
Oh, yeah.
Winning lots of big series over the years against Koreans in TvT. Pig, I think that does make things interesting. When you've got the god of TvT, at least foreign TvT, giving you tips, Time has got to have a good arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, just the many times in the last... oh, man.
Damn it. Are we already back on
The many
this?
times he's been given special builds.
The many instances in the last year when we've seen HeroMarine's Terran vs. Terran tested against the likes of Uthermal, against, pretty much every Terran in the scene. HeroMarine has just been so consistent. He's come out on top time and again.
And he smacked Semper silly yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
In this
Semper came out swinging too. He really put the pressure on. So it was actually like HeroMarine kind of weathered the storm. That wasn't very aggressive.
I don't think Semper was playing poorly at all in that series, and HeroMarine still crushed him.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to introduce those players onto the stage. We've got our furthest reaching Chinese player we've had in a long time in WCS, Smix, as well as Big Gabe.
You're right, Nathanius. I'm just so excited about this TvT mirror. We talked a lot about mirrors yesterday. I'm excited for this one because it's Big Gabe taking on China. Please welcome on stage. It is HeroMarine and Time.
The players shake hands and make their way to their PCs to play what should surely be an epic match here. Our two-time GPL winner, number 16 in circuit point ranks. It'd be a true Cinderella story for Time to be the guy that makes it all the way to have his dreams become a reality. That one's a little bit out of reach, we would say, though. It's going to be very difficult.
That's a champion win possibility there.
Yeah. We gotta do the casted thing where we're like, well, anybody that wins this tournament goes to BlizzCon, but will he though?
Will he though? Well, I mean, he's here in the top 8. He's got a big match in front of him, and for me, one of the strategic questions is how do you go about breaking Gabe's mech? Because his mech in Terran vs. Terran has looked very powerful. Sometimes he takes a few hits here or there, and I go, oh, is he in trouble? And he's just got this wall of Hellbats and tanks. He's very good at controlling the skies as well. He doesn't usually let like the Liberator air control kind of go to the other player. It's tough. I'm not sure what Time's going to do to take that down in the mid to late game.
I think there was also the other really interesting thing that HeroMarine showed a little bit of versus Semper, which was that kind of weird transition that Maru did in the GSL, where he's like trying to go from mech into the bio, and I'm like, what? Were you styling? Or was that a thing?
He was styling. I'm supposed to ask the questions. I'm just going to say there's no way he does that unless he's up 2-0 again, and he's just like, well, this is the easiest cakewalk of my life.
Yeah, it was
There's no way he pulls that out
double
seriously.
armory into double engineering bay.
Like,
it
come
was
on.
bizarre. I'm not sure if it was
weird.
styling or the wires got crossed
You're like, I'm
somewhere.
going to spend half my resources on upgrades before I do anything. If Time is able to bring the pressure to HeroMarine, I don't think he's going to feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah, no, not at all. That's something you do when you're weighing the lead. It's crazy.
Or if you're Maru, who can literally do whatever he wants and still win. That being said, it's time for this match. It's time for Time versus HeroMarine.
Thank you guys very much. At the desk, we are incredibly excited to be bringing you guys another quarterfinal. It is TvT. I'm Rotterdam. With me is our Terran expert, Zombie Grub. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm always excited to cast a TvT. We are getting into Fracture as our first map. And in the bottom right, it's coming in for China. It is the blue Terran Time.
Time has been a really fun story to follow so far, but he's going up against the man that we call the Kingpin of Cologne. We know him as Big Gabe. It's HeroMarine.
I love that Fear Dragon brought up what the other pros were saying, because he kind of let me know as well beforehand. And I don't know, man. I shaking my head a little bit about the, this is really, really even maybe in favor of Time. Like, I really don't agree with that.
I'm not feeling that either.
Okay, good. All right. I mean, as you watch the builds unfold here, no proxies, though it could get aggressive with the Time going for both gases. Actually, HeroMarine as well. See if that involves faster starport or just a factory expand. But it's just, like, Euthermal also doesn't get to play against, like, I feel a ton of the Koreans. And he has the same issue where, like, typically he is playing on the European server and TvT is not his favorite. But HeroMarine still, it would even show fantastic games against Euthermal. In fact, it's knocked him out of previous tournaments. So it's like, I feel like it's actually not so much the issue. HeroMarine's TvT is actually, I think, objectively good, and not just because the quality of Terrans he faces isn't that great.
Exactly. Overall, HeroMarine is just a really good player. He's had an amazing year this year in the WCS circuit. Leipzig maybe wasn't the hottest performance, where he lost in the run of 16, but he lost in a close series back then against Neep. After that, it only got better. Quarterfinals in Austin, semifinals in Valencia, and now once again, HeroMarine is eager to make it back-to-back semifinals, as he is close here in Montreal as well. So far, these openings are standard. I think overall for HeroMarine, confidence always plays a very big factor. And I know Big Gabe, and I know that he's very, very confident going into this series. I'm sure he's a little bit concerned that he doesn't know much about Time. I'm sure he thinks it's weird to play against someone in this phase in the tournament, where you just don't see that many games of him. But at the same time, I am absolutely convinced that Big Gabe believes he is the better player overall, that he's the more complete player. And even if he gets surprised in a game 1 or even game 2, that he will still bring it home.
I absolutely agree. And just for the last point, kind of against Time, before maybe we start giving him a little more credit, is that I get to watch Time, not a terrible amount, but like a decent amount in those Korean TvT situations. And it's just, I'm going to say, like, HeroMarine is more solid. And sure, you could argue, well, the Koreans are forcing them to make more mistakes, and that's StarCraft. And yeah, okay, but HeroMarine just does look more solid. But now that we're done kind of, building up the HeroMarine hype train, so you can finally make it to a finals after advancing to the bracket every single WCS.
I mean, that's kind of a foreign Terran thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Making it to a finals. That is something that they haven't done a lot. We don't really get to see this very often already. 3 Terrans in the quarterfinals of a WCS event. I love seeing all that blue on Liquipedia. It makes me happy. But of course, let's see if they can go all the way. Now, Time is starting to move to the other side of the map. That Cyclone is a little bit out of position for HeroMarine. Obviously, I don't think HeroMarine is in any danger of dying here. But it is important that he reacts against this very quickly, and he doesn't. That means that these 2 Reapers are going to go down very quickly. And I like the start here for Time.
It's very awkward of HeroMarine not to have a little more defense. He did send out a unit to try and get a scout on this probably exact attack, the Hellion, and this has turned very awkward. He's going to have to pull the SCVs, which is not going to be very ideal against those Hellions. The Raven will pop out and be able to help, but actually probably didn't even need to help. Well, the Cyclone did go down, so with the auto turret, it's definitely going to be taken out, but that is 5 workers lost.
Wow, 2 more Cyclones show up over here as well, and obviously with the Cyclone of HeroMarine going down, he really doesn't have much here. That means he just dropped 2 Mules on the low ground. They're not going to be mining for a while. 1 actually gets picked off. What a fantastic start here for Time.
It really is, and this is all on HeroMarine. You don't have to be too harsh on him, but he did get that scout that there was a reactor factory, and it's always possible that they'll continue just making Cyclones, and you can't you either build your own Cyclones, which HeroMarine stopped doing very early on, or you have to get that bunker down a lot faster. You saw that he started to panic. He realized, oh no, this is what's happening. He tried to get the bunker. Now it's going to take a while for him to regain access to that natural. Meanwhile, time getting farther ahead here is going to add on a third CC. It actually remains to be seen if he's going to go in a mech or bio from this.
HeroMarine moving the tank. The tank is so precious right now. Of course, there is a second tank on the way for HeroMarine, but if he ends up losing the tank, he is going to lose a lot more than he's done so far. And he already lost quite a few SCVs. Time is going to go for it soon with 6 Cyclones. Instead, he doesn't want to wait. He goes for 4. He takes a lot of damage on these 4, but he does pick up the tank. Now, where is that second tank? I know it's close. It's going to try to get in a good position. Time is going to dive on that one as well.
He should. This could be a GG moment if there's more Cyclones on the way. If Time had any SCVs repairing these Cyclones as well, but I don't, even if I get the GG right here, this is enough damage. HeroMarine caught massively underestimating his opponent. This is not the usual safe defensive smart play we see from our Red Terran. If he loses that orbital, it's definitely game over.
I mean, he has nothing to fight these 2 Cyclones now. The Banshee's almost out, but the Cyclones will lock on this orbital. It's very low on HP. SCVs are gonna save it! Oh, that was incredibly close. It is safe for now. Banshee shows up, picks up the first Cyclone, but Cloak is not ready yet.
I mean, luckily for HeroMarine,
that's it.
It's not that great, but it is not enough. Time takes game number 1, and that was brutal. That wasn't just, you know, like, oh, I doom dropped once. That was one after another, one after another, one after another. And that does happen in TvT. So I don't want to put too much on it, but HeroMarine, it was a small map. It was the first time against a new opponent. Like, he played just greedy.
Yeah, I think that's the thing we should really emphasize on. This is not just a small map. It is by far the smallest map that we currently have in the map pool, and HeroMarine was simply not ready for a couple of Cyclones and 2 Hellions driving to the other side of the map. The Reapers are not strong enough to hold the low ground there. His Cyclone was way too far out of position, and it was a really close call where HeroMarine could have saved his Cyclone. He was repairing it with 3 SCVs. I think if he saves the very first Cyclone, it's still an ugly start, but it's really not bad, because then he gets a tank out, and the game goes from there. But losing that Cyclone means all he had left was that 1 tank, and Time didn't waste any time. He just dived on top of it immediately. He's like, all right, thank you very much. That's going to be game here.
It was a smart call by Time. There's a world where it, backfires, SCV wall is too good, and it was a bit of a waste of the Cyclones. But even then, he was going to have a good, substantial start to the game, and he would have been perhaps okay with that. But that was certainly not what I was expecting, and I brought this up when Semper faced against a HeroMarine in the TvT. If he gets that first win, if he shocks HeroMarine and is like, hold on, I am actually pretty good at TvT, HeroMarine might be, I mean, he's a little rustled, I'm pretty sure about that, but he actually might be just thrown off what is usually a very confident TvTer, and you start second guessing yourself, second guessing your builds, your ability to be greedy, and you just fall behind because Time obviously knows how to play the game. We are into the second game. It is lost and found. And this is already starting off unexpected. We'll see if it continues. He's in the top right. As the blue Terran, he is up 1. It is Time.
He is the very first player in this tournament to take a TvT victory over HeroMarine. Going into this grand finals, HeroMarine was 9-0 in TvT, but he's just dropped his first loss. However, let's see if he can bounce back. Our German Terran in the left bottom side. It is HeroMarine. Now, I think a game 1 defeat on the smallest map in the map pool in a best of 5, that's not the end of the world, but it does, of course, put more pressure here on Lost and Found. This is a little more of a standard map, a map that HeroMarine has played a lot more TvT on, I can only assume, than he did on Fracture. But it is important that he's sharper this game. He has to play safer, and he has to be more aware of crazy things that Time can throw at him.
Yeah.
Because one more silly build like that, and that's where it gets really scary.
So I'm pretty sure what he did with that Hellion, because he had the 2 Reapers cycling on the high ground, and there's you pull the SCVs with everything combined, and it's always already slightly different. But that Hellion went across the map. That's what scouted the factory reactor, and while that still gave HeroMarine enough time to be like, okay, he could be building Cyclones as well. I think it was also supposed to scout the first trio of units, the first trio that kind of started the ball rolling. And the fact that it didn't is probably what threw HeroMarine off the most. And then when they are reactoring out of factory, if you're not already set up it does snowball very quickly. It's a bit of a gotcha move. It's kind of fallen out of favor. Like if it is, if you know it's coming and you build a bunker, they just, you know, they're just going to have to give up on the Cyclone idea, basically.
Yep.
But it's not the worst build, though. Like, it's not like Time was doing something so crazy and risky, because he could have just said, oh, you are defending, let me swap off.
Yeah, of course, HeroMarine was clearly trying to get a tank count up as quickly as possible, and that was his idea there, but I can once again only agree with you. Then you need a bunker, especially if your opponent has a reactor on the factory, and it's not just a single Cyclone, but it's multiple Cyclones. A single bunker could have changed the entire of that game, because then HeroMarine gets his first tank in a good position, and Cyclone simply cannot fight a bunker and a tank at the same time. But of course, things move on. Game number 2 here for HeroMarine is just important that he keeps track of the army, that he knows what Time is up to. So far, Time is playing a different opening here, as we have the first Hellion on the way, and we don't see any reactors being thrown down yet.
Yeah, yeah, that first Cyclone's very safe. So I wonder if HeroMarine, he was playing quite defensive. He went for the Raven. He wasn't going to go for the Banshee immediately, or maybe at all. Maybe he changed his plans because he was taking a damage. But he could. Oh, so he's getting a bunker. So he's playing defensive to the idea of what could happen. But I mean, from that starport could have been a medevac along with a second Cyclone, for instance, because he's usually very good about having something keeping tabs on his opponent. These Reapers are going to just, okay, they're going to, they want to pair up with other units usually, because that would have been a free scout, but they also would have died.
Yep, I think he saw that Cyclone there, and he's like, all right, I'm probably not going to get out of here if you've got a Reaper and a Cyclone. In this case, even 2 Reapers. That would have been silly, and we saw how useful those Reapers can be in that previous fight as well. Reapers are just awesome, not necessarily for the damage, but the ability to throw down those grenades. You can toss the Cyclone back, and you'd really lose a lot of DPS if your Cyclones are flying through the air.
Yeah. I wonder how often these guys are going to factory expand, by the way. I'm really not... I don't think HeroMarine's the type of person to go for the T-Rax. I think he actually just doesn't really like it that much, but Time also is still taking it seriously. You know, that would help against it. All of these maps that we have actually are pretty good for T-Rax Reaper because Acid Plant was vetoed. It's like the only really bad one. But yeah, I don't know about the cheeses in this game. They seem to be playing at least somewhat cautiously. Again, HeroMarine, he realizes he was too greedy. He's now building a bunker, so it really is quite cautious. And we'll see who's going to be going into the third CC, actually. Fasters, they're both going for Ravens. I don't know if they really be... They could hit with the interference matrix. It's always a threat. This Reaper's going to get around and scout that. That's probably a Raven popping out of there.
Yeah. The Reapers obviously didn't get anything done here for HeroMarine, but once again, HeroMarine is probably approaching this series in the idea of like, I just don't want to die early. I just want to make sure that I know what you're up against or that what I'm up against. And as long as I know what you're doing, sort of, I am going to be okay here. Reapers in that phase in the game, they are not meant to kill SCVs. It's all about just getting a good scout off.
So it's so funny. They actually are both doing the possible, like, you know, branches of their openers. So HeroMarine going for a faster third CC, substantially faster. But then Time, not just like delaying it, being a little safe. He's actually reacting out Vikings. So he could do a Viking push, abuse some of these ledges on Lost and Found, but he could also bust given a very ideal scenario with those interference matrix. HeroMarine actually is going to have to be quite, like, keep his eyes on his own Raven and have that in a proper position, because if this does turn into a push, if it gets across the map safely, and it cements itself, then that's just as scary as if you're being busted, actually, because Time can get some leads there.
Of course, HeroMarine is going to have much quicker stim, but it's always hard to stim into tanks. And for Time, it's all about getting in a good position with his Marines, with his tanks. And if he doesn't have stim, that's no problem. If his tanks are going to get in a good position, the Vikings will give him the air control that he's looking for. Even squeezing out a Liberator already, that's obviously going to be very useful in potentially pushing the tanks of HeroMarine back as well. HeroMarine has no vision at all on that side of the map. It's really important that he starts figuring out that Time is moving to the other side of the map with a bunch of Vikings.
This is the easiest way sometimes to defend against this is realizing that it's moving across the map, but that scan will also do the trick, I believe. You see a starport that fast on a reactor and on this map too, and you're like, okay, I think I know what's going on here. So you actually see his Cyclones were maybe moving to check the third base. They're not kind of stalled out, maybe want to try and catch a tank, which is exactly the scenario here. They could have possibly caught that tank.
Yeah, they were not together. It was a single Cyclone.
Yeah.
No, I don't think HeroMarine is going to be able to land that orbital anytime soon. That was very ambitious to potentially send that one out. The tanks are going to be able to get a couple of shots. Are they in range of anything? Maybe a tech lab, a supply depot? Maybe the factory, right?
Yeah, the factory, actually, it's just a tech lab. So the command center's got to be lifted, but The SCVs are being pulled. Are
Liberator in the natural as well. That Raven going down for HeroMarine. HeroMarine is not paying attention to the Liberator, so he might win that fight. That is a beautiful engagement for HeroMarine. He's going to destroy that army. I think if he gets on top of the tanks, he doesn't, however. Oh.
So there's a lot of things that's really confusing about this. Actually, HeroMarine just made another huge blunder, and that's actually...
Wow.
That's game. This was really confusing. He pulled SCVs as if he was going to use them to help break, and I think if he had used them to break, then he takes the army lead, but he still would have lost a lot of SCVs to the Liberators, so that's still a problem. But this is not what we expected from HeroMarine. I mean, kudos to Time. He's doing all the proper TvT things, but they're really not the weirdest things, or like...
This Liberator is just running rampage. 25 kills. How often do you see that? There is nothing left. GG. Time. Our Chinese Terran player comes out here, takes a 2-0 lead, not even 15 minutes into this series. Damn, what a push. I really thought HeroMarine was going to win that fight on the right side when he dropped the interference matrix, but he just didn't get close enough to those tanks. He wasn't there.
Yeah, there was enough fodder on the front of the tanks, but I really feel like those SCVs, because I think they were half pulled for the Liberator or something like that, because there was SCVs that die in the natural, and then there was SCVs being pulled, and then they just stayed on that ramp that's outside the natural. So I mean, just not typical play from HeroMarine. I don't want to take away from Time.
No, those builds are great. I mean, the first game you could say that was a lot on HeroMarine, but I love the way that Time executed his build here. The positioning was great. I thought maybe he's going to use the Liberator with his main push, but nope, he sent it into the natural. And the timing was perfect, because HeroMarine was clearly paying attention to that fight on the right side with the Raven, where he was stimming forward, where he wanted to clean up those tanks, which he wasn't even successful in. But that's when that Liberator showed up, and even if HeroMarine would have won that fight, I don't even love his position if he loses 16 SCVs against that Liberator.
Right, yeah, that's still a poor position for him, but considering how TvT can work once you both have, you have your third CCs, and Time had sacrificed his stim timing to do that, there's actually a pretty good game from there. But you lost the army and you lost the SCVs and everything else. Like, that's just obviously GG. HeroMarine, perhaps that shock to his system from the first game is going to snowball into a 3-0 for our Chinese Terran, which would make an already impressive run for that region just even more impressive. Way more impressive.
It's been a very long time that we've seen a Chinese player make it into the quarterfinals of a WCS tournament. You have to go back to the days of Jim and Maxa. And of course, players like Jigawa and Tutming, they had their moments, but Time is looking really, really good. In the beginning of the year, I had high hopes and dreams with that young man, but he really disappointed us in Leipzig. Austin was perhaps even more disappointing for Time, and he had a very doable group. But this time, he is putting together the run of a lifetime. He's up 2-0 in the quarterfinals. In the right bottom side, hailing from China, it's Time.
In the top left, as the red Terran, hailing from Germany, he is Mao's HeroMarine.
I don't think HeroMarine has any idea what's hitting him so far in this series, because this is one of those moments where you feel like the best of 5 just kind of started, but he's already down 0-2, and not in a single moment in any of these 2 games has HeroMarine be ahead, has HeroMarine even had the slightest thing to be happy about. It's not even a little skirmish that went his way. It's not even that he won a Reaper battle, that he picked off a Hellion somewhere. Nothing has gone right in these 2 games for HeroMarine.
Yeah, you're right about that, but it is so weird. TvT, personally, I really love the matchup, so I'm here casting it, right? It's just like, there are so many things that can happen in the early, mid-game that still make a very back and forth late game. So, you see those moves, he's up fully mining gas here, but you see those moves that Time is making, the Cyclone openers, the push on Lost and Found, those are expected, and those more often than not get some type of damage done or some type of reaction, but they are just like a little bit, and then a little bit here, and then a little bit there. So for HeroMarine to be hit by what is still pretty typical builds, and then flounder what is uncharacteristically so, like it is a bit shocking, and I'm guessing he's wishing that there was a break between game 2 and game 3 to get his head back. But this is going to be a test of his mental fortitude, right? Because I feel like HeroMarine, actually, when he does get down 0-2, I've never really pinned him as like a comeback guy, Like Scarlet, she comes back from a lot
But he's
of
also
bad
not a
scenarios.
tilter, though. I don't think HeroMarine is a tilter. He's not that emotional in this series.
That's
so,
true.
So obviously he's not maybe known for his miraculous comebacks, but in general, I think HeroMarine is someone who's able to stay calm and composed and still believe in his builds and the idea he had before this series. But I'm just blown away by this run that Time has had. I remember in the opening phase of Austin, I was talking up Time a lot, and I really loved things that I saw from him before. And then he got eliminated in a group in the round of 32, which I believe was with Seifer, Bly, and Snoot. And I really thought, like, damn, that was the moment for Time to really make it out. And then some of the other guys over in Korea told me, Time is not really playing at the moment. He didn't, he wasn't that motivated. I'm like, oh, that's so sad, because I really thought that this was finally going to be a Chinese player who takes it to the next level. I had that feeling about Cyan maybe 2 years ago, but he also kind of, he started playing a little bit less. But Time is back, and what a run he's been having so far here in Montreal. I'm very, very impressed.
Yeah, for sure. So Dreamcatcher with that ramp, HeroMarine doesn't think he needs to build a bunker. Time does, though. But like this map, if they're going to go to the 3rd CC, which I do believe they will, what Time did is pretty popular on Lost and Found. I don't think necessarily so much on Dreamcatcher. Dreamcatcher is a lot more about the not the ramps, the walls. They're not walls either.
Ledges.
Oh my gosh. The ledges, sure, whatever, around the 3rd bases. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Observer. Because I just can't even think of a word to explain that right now. But yeah, they're about that. So about the 3rd base. It's really about positioning. I don't particularly find a lot of like 1 base or 2 base attacks doing so much damage that it's crazy, or doom drops, for instance, off of 2 bases. So that's where HeroMarine, I feel, is going to be more comfortable, is when he's like on 3 bases. Sure, that attack can, hurt, and it can do a lot, but I think that's where he's going to be the most comfortable, and he can really get back into his own headspace.
Of course, one of the reasons for that is also, if you think of Lost and Found, you think of the natural, there's no ramp. It's all even footing, and that obviously makes aggressive plays a lot stronger. Here on Dreamcatcher, if you want to get into the natural, you have to go up a ramp there as well. So that means that the defender is always going to have high ground advantage, and that in general suits for slightly more macro-oriented plays, or at least players have to go up to 3 bases before you want to get truly creative. Now, the Cloak Banshee, I don't think it's going to get too much done, because the first Raven is already out. There is a Cyclone waiting for it here as well. Time is going to wait for Cloak to finish up. But if you talk about a minor victory, I feel this is the first minor victory in this entire best of 5. If HeroMarine doesn't end up losing too many SCVs, I mean, that's 2 already. Yeah. But this is kind of a good feeling when a Cloak Banshee shows up and you're like, I was actually ready for that.
Yeah, it's usually the least lethal thing to see, like, unless you're not prepared for it, then it's absolutely lethal. But when you see the Banshee, it's not on 1 base. There's no assumption that's the 3rd, don't get me wrong, but like, there seems to be like, well, that's not something you usually are going to do a 2 lethal of a push with. And he actually did eventually scout that there was a 3rd CC. So taking no damage from the Banshee ideally, and then knowing that it's going to be going into more of, being around how you position your arm units, assuming they both go for Stim and Bio, which at Time obviously already is, but HeroMarine still hasn't swapped off.
Well, there is a Raven in the natural as well, but a couple of Marines did get picked off. Good Banshee micro so far coming out of Time. Cyclone is gonna lock on 1 Banshee, but will not get enough damage out to actually take it down. So HeroMarine is losing a couple of units here and there, but nothing disastrous. Like, we're almost 6 minutes in, and you could say that we're looking at a real regular TvT. The upgrades are a little bit faster on the other side of the map for Time, but obviously HeroMarine with a slightly faster 3cc should be able to catch up and really not be in a terrible position by any means.
His 3rd CC might be a little faster, but his upgrades are behind, including Stim. I don't want to say he wasted a lot of time on his start, but that's not true, but he did invest almost equally amounts, right, with the Liberator and the Raven, so this might get some damage done. Time doesn't have anything in position. In fact, he's trying to go for his 3rd, which is another point the Liberator could go to.
This is really annoying for Time, because he's just moving his units to the low ground, so that's extra frustrating. Doesn't have any Marines, obviously doesn't have Stim yet, so it's not that those Marines can just Stim, turn around, and get to that Liberator immediately. But of course, HeroMarine doesn't know what we know. Is he going to waste time, or is he just going to go for it? No, he's just going to go for it, and this is actually a very good move, because this should... Whoa, there's a Widow Mine, okay. Don't see that very often. Wow, it actually soaked up 2 shots there as well, so not a single SCV goes down.
That was really shocking.
Yeah, the unexpected. And now single Marine is actually going to take care of this Liberator. Of course, there is lost mining time. Yeah, really not bad for Time. Ends up losing an SCV anyway.
Yeah, Time sees that there's CC for HeroMarine on location as well. And the timings of their upgrades are not so substantial, I don't believe. But there's a, well, I mean, Time is trying to hit it. And, well, what's more important about maybe even just the stim is the combat shields is going to be ahead for Time.
Has not started it yet. I don't think HeroMarine is aware of this army already moving out. Army supplies heavily in favor of Time. Time is going to put up his tanks. He's going to go in with these 2 Cloak Banshees. He's going to maybe stim forward. That's exactly what he does. Wants to go for that tank. He does get the tank, but he's fighting without his own tank support. So, yes, he got a tank, but he lost a lot of Marines there.
These Banshees suddenly being very useful, even though they're being detected. There's no Vikings to help take them out. They're just Marines that are getting hit by the tank. So not anymore. Both Ravens come forward. One Banshee dies. Time is going to just take what he can get and back away, only losing. Yeah, I mean, a Banshee tank's kind of expensive, but HeroMarine, more importantly, saves this base.
Yeah, good defense by HeroMarine. I think that started off a tiny bit scary because it really felt that Time once again sort of caught him by surprise, but then HeroMarine really made the right choices, pulled back to his tank, and Time was kind of fighting without his tank support until HeroMarine really chased into it. But now the Raven used quite a bit of his energy. There was no vision there for HeroMarine, so that means another tank goes down. Now, of course, there was double Raven. Time is going to stim forward. Does Time have enough here to win this fight? He does have a tank. That second tank is almost going to fire again, and wow, Time is pushing him back.
Yeah, and he's going to have combat shields soon, so HeroMarine has to wait for his own combat shields, basically, at this point, which means another tank could come forward as Time is rallying forward. His upgrades are just going to be later and later, as his armory was late. Time looking quite good in this macro game, not just pressuring HeroMarine, but also at getting his own 4th base.
HeroMarine is going to stim forward. He's going to pick off the tank that was at least most forward. The other tank is running very low on HP, and HeroMarine gets that one as well. So good focus fire there by our German Terran. And I think HeroMarine is handling this pressure well. Of course, he's losing a couple of units here and there, but he's not drastically falling behind in anything.
That was scary, though. That 3rd tank was almost there, ready to siege. But his 2-2, I mean, he's going to be behind in upgrades kind of no matter what. Time should be hitting it as he's not feeling any of the pressure. His forces he went down on location, and that's usually pretty ballsy in this matchup, right? So he's not feeling the pressure. He's still the one dishing it out. HeroMarine is finally in that comfort zone, but you know, he's definitely clicking on the Marines. I think he knows his armory was late. He only delayed Time's armory for so long. And this game is going to be, you know, eventually HeroMarine's going to have to take either a really good fight or actually have to get out on the map himself. Okay, there he goes, trying to pick something up.
Oh, but Scan goes down. Time is still there with that army as well. He has to be careful. He's going through those rocks. That's risky. Sometimes it's really hard. Okay, he does put the tanks slightly behind the rocks. So knocking down these rocks is not going to achieve much for HeroMarine. Time instead is going to do it for him. I mean, Time is still up in supply, and obviously, I love how aggressive Time is, man. He's going up to 4 bases, so you could technically say HeroMarine is supposed to be the one that's attacking Time. But Time is like, nah, I've got momentum on my side. I like the early trades. I know that it wasn't bad for me. And that's the first time that HeroMarine is going to try to be really aggressive, other than the Liberator. But now Time, it's almost like he knows he's going to throw down a scan, and he stims forward.
That was a really late feature from HeroMarine, who did scan the army.
Wow.
But that pickup was already bad timing. And then the tank's not getting a couple extra shots. Might just make this game. If that's game, it's a 3-0. HeroMarine did pull back with his own drop, but it's just Marines. He's down 20 army supply. He's going to try and bust this before it gets entrenched. And he does have a very good surround, so it might just be cleaned up here. But HeroMarine took some pretty bad losses himself.
Yeah, the 2 tanks are still there. They're going to be able to get a few more shots off. Beautiful final engagement, at least by HeroMarine. But HeroMarine is probably thinking, damn, I can't catch a break. I pick up 2 medevacts, I fly out, and that's when you stim forward into my tanks. Like, what if those tanks were actually sieged up? But Time, of course, had the upgrade advantage, still has it as well. What a series so far from Time. What momentum out of him as well. He's not slowing down.
Yeah, he's really carrying the momentum the first 2 games, and then just this game, he's still in control of it. His upgrades did, there's not as much of a lead for them as he was a little late to the 3-3, but that's still him. I mean, he's abusing all of the right things on Dreamcatcher, which is what's really scary.
Oh, the SCVs. We're blocking the tank for a split second. There are 2 Vikings here, but of course there are Vikings on the side of Time as well. Marine's going to try to help out a little bit. Of course, HeroMarine has the luxury of being able to repair his Vikings. A couple of Marines stim forward will do take care of the Liberator. That's very important. Time very aggressive now on the left side. I'm not sure about this one, Time.
I think it actually might be okay. There's not a lot of tanks for HeroMarine, and actually pushing into Time's tanks, just lost him a substantial amount of his own. Another tank does come forward, so I guess they'll hold the third base, but never forget that Time's been on a fourth base for a very long time. He's been able to afford his other upgrades, but also start the transition to that air. If Time doesn't do this, HeroMarine probably does eventually get his own fourth base and a maxed out army. TvT defense advantage. We all know how good it is. Yeah, that's a fifth base going to the gold. But if you go into the starport, you're just further abusing these ledges that Time has been doing, and I actually think that HeroMarine doesn't really have a way out here. He's not getting any drops, or, I mean, what is he going to do?
Of course, the closer HeroMarine gets to maxing out, the more the dream is alive, right? Because if the armies get bigger, fights can really snowball very quickly, but you gotta be inspired by the way that Time is playing this best of 5 so far. He's steaming forward again, gets another decent engagement here. The tanks are very exposed. HeroMarine is forced to pull the SCVs, and he sort of pushes the Marines back at least, but at the cost of 16 SCVs while being down 2 bases.
I guess this Liberator is finally going to help take out the tanks. That
nice. Marine. Okay.
That was nice positioning. It almost went down, but 23 SCVs of HeroMarine went down, trying to hold that. He doesn't have extra bases like Time does. He doesn't have the production for the starport, so while temporarily he's able to make sure Time doesn't abuse him with leapfrogs of Liberators, it's only temporary.
6 bases, yes. Time is a madman. Okay, now we do have that orbital. Did he float out his main or something? Yeah, wow, I was about to say, I really missed it. But he's still on 3 bases, guys. Time is going up to 6 orbital command / planetary fortresses. He's going to build a few more. He's going to stim forward here again. Time is just running over HeroMarine. Damn, what a performance by this Chinese Terran player. I am blown out of the water. This is really, really impressive stuff.
Making it look easy is HeroMarine just from the get-go. Probably underestimated him, maybe let it get to him a little bit, but then this game proved that Time has just some really good macro TvT sense. And this, I don't want to call it too early, but I don't think Time can lose.
There's nothing here in the main base for HeroMarine. HeroMarine doesn't have the economy of Time. Time is on 80 SCVs. He's got all these bases. And now HeroMarine might clean this up, but at the cost once again of probably a bad engagement. Even though he has overwhelming amount of Marines there, the Liberator is going to help. But this is only a small part of what Time is actually working with. Time has so much on the other side of the map, and he's producing an insane amount of units at once.
So HeroMarine, he knows how far behind he is. He knows there's probably a ton of command centers, but just to note how little he's been able to do on the map, he has no scouting since like the first 2 bases. So that's just, he's never been able to do anything on his own. Not that he's a typically aggressive player, but Time has really just never let him breathe. And then combine that with a couple of late sieges, and where HeroMarine would usually have a 200 maxed out army and be like, well, I just have to wait for 1 victory. He's down 40 workers, even army split, even upgrades. He could still have that fight. Time doesn't, maybe not be this overconfident.
Well, I mean, he's going to drop some great interference matrix there with his Ravens. Time is stimming forward as well with the Marines. Still has quite a few Marines there. A few more SCVs go down for HeroMarine. And even if Time doesn't get the job done here, any trade, I would say, is a good trade because he's on 82 SCVs against only 34 for HeroMarine. I am so impressed by Time. His momentum, his pace in this series has been ridiculous. It's a storm that's not slowing down.
No, it's not. That worker discrepancy is... it's currently the story. Again, HeroMarine, like if Time does that same engagement, let's say like 10 more times, then HeroMarine might be back in it, sure, okay. But Time really has the whole map to waste almost in attacks like that, assuming that it's not so bad he's immediately counterattacked.
Of course, you have to be careful against Liberators. Liberators can always siege on top of tanks, and you don't want to take terrible fights. But I think HeroMarine is about to scout this gold base for the first time, and he's like, okay, yep, he just spotted the refinery. He's like, I hope that's your 4th. It's probably your 5th. Well, it's worse. That was actually his 6th base, and he's got a 7th in the left bottom side as well. So HeroMarine finally strikes back, but he's got one hell of a mountain to climb because he's so far down economically.
We're gonna have another fight here. The Liberators are the first thing targeted. Interference matrix. I don't know if they're intentionally on the medevacs, but it doesn't really matter as that is too much of an army. GG Time. 3 zeros in rather speedy fashion.
In a very, very impressive way as well. What a dominating, convincing performance by this Chinese Terran player. It's been a while that I've been dead impressed by someone coming out of our Chinese region. What an amazing run so far for that young man. Semi-finals for Time. How cool is that?
That is amazing. Of course, HeroMarine, not too happy about that one, but he is already locked in a BlizzCon. So Yeah, he won at the finals this time. He's been advancing every single round, but not going to happen. Time just on fire, dominating 3-0, looking good to go into his next opponent. But we do have Stu up on stage with him, so let's hear his own thoughts about that.
Thank you very much, Zombie Gup. Congratulations, Time. Yesterday, I congratulated you on making the top 8 for the first time in your StarCraft 2 career, and today you continue your dream. You're in the top 4 now. What does this mean for you?
恭喜你 ，Time！ 在昨天的时候，我恭喜你进入了8强。这次你进入4强，也是你职业生涯中最好的成绩。你现在感受是怎么样的？
其实我现在就是我觉得还是挺不可思议的吧，因为我觉得其实打 HeroMarine， 我觉得他挺强的，但没想到以3-0比分就赢下了他，反正还是比较惊讶吧。
One word, incredible. I felt like that HeroMarine is a very strong opponent, and I never thought I could beat him 3-0. I thought it would be a much harder series, but in the end, I'm here and I feel very good.
Indeed, the series was so dominant from you. 3-0, you looked so strong throughout all 3 games. I know yesterday you said Special taught you a lot about TvT, so can you tell us what is it that you learned, because whatever it was made you look so good today?
今天你的表现非常的亮眼。昨天你说你和 Special Major 练习了很多。那你能跟我们分享一下 Major 在哪一方面特别提或者点拨了你？
其实就是这几盘的战术都是卡拉佐尔和 Special 就是帮助我设计的，然后非常感谢他们2位能帮我练习，然后他们的主要就跟我说的是，其实欧洲人族的 TvT 没有韩国强，只要正常打就好了。
So all of my 3 maps tactics were designed by Special and Calazor, and they told me that European and North American Terran players are not as strong as Korean Terran players. So just what Time has to do is be Time.
So now moving forward, you have 1 of 2 opponents. Would you rather continue to show your TvT skills and play Uthermal, or do you want to show us how you play your TvZ against Rainer?
现在的话，接下来有2个选择 ，TvT 还是 TvZ。你觉得你应该你想继续展现你的 TvT 水平，还是你的 TvZ 实力？
其实 TvZ 是我最弱的一个对抗嘛，然后现在欧美的就是欧洲和欧美的重组也都很强，所以我希望优泽茂能够拿下雷诺。然后我会尽力赢下优泽茂，进入到决赛。
Well, TvZ is my weakest matchup, and non-Korean players, especially non-Korean Zerg players, are very strong right now. So I hope that Uthermo can be a buddy and help me out, and I will try my best to contest against Uthermo and perhaps beat him, so that I can go on further.
Well, we'll see if Team Shibu lives up to that wish, but congratulations again on making it to the semifinal. What an amazing feat, Nathanius.
An amazing feat indeed, Smix, as Time showed time after time in this series that he had what it takes to go tango with the best European Terrans that we have. A beautiful match, very well executed pushes and timings.
It was really, really nice the way he played that right from the start. I mean, he did get a bit of an easy win in the first map there. It was very quick and over. But from there, he showed very decisive play. And I think a lot of people watching that might go, well, what exactly was he doing better than HeroMarine? The one thing that stood out for me was his Raven usage. Throughout that entire series, he was always very good at choosing when to use auto turrets and when lockdowns were more important. And we saw even in the late game, adding Ravens into the mix when he could afford it and constantly locking down siege tanks at key locations. And that just gave him better fights continually, and he built lots of edges upon that.
He just seemed to have a really good understanding of TvT. I mean, it's kind of going back to what he was saying, and also it sounds like Special and Kelzer were saying, which is Korean Terrans just have a bit more experience with TvT. There's just not that many really good European Terrans, so HeroMarine maybe not as much experience and playing a little bit greedy sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, as a Terran player, being able to watch that and see the execution come down where it's like, it happens in so many games where you're playing where you're like, oh yeah, do your expand, you get your Marines, like, oh, my tank's gonna be a little late because I'm opening with a Raven, and then Cyclones show up, and you're like, oh my God, I don't have a bunker. And then everything falls apart. There's a little therapeutic for me watching someone come in and clown on someone like that. Really good play out of time.
It's like, hey, it doesn't just happen to me on the left.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You know,
yeah. Like even HeroMarine can just use a couple Cyclones just show up like, well met, you're dead.
That's exactly what you were describing it back in the green room, Nate, right? They all felt like it was just Time was playing ladder games. He was playing and just busting out a bunch of ladder builds.
And crushed him real hard. We have an updated bracket to let y'all know as we are just about done with the quarterfinals. Don't get ahead of yourselves, though, guys. There's another one coming up. We've got Sero going up against Lambo in our first semi, but Time will face off against our next match. We got Thermal going up against Rainer, and I can't believe it. Imagine if we had a TvT in the semifinals of a WCS event.
How many
we have
years
a
has
Terran
it
in a
been?
semifinal of a WCS event.
How many years has it been?
It's... Whoa.
I mean, we have to go to the old folks' home, find Thorzane somewhere. He'll tell legends of when Terrans won things.
Me and Show played back in the WCS regionals, and you got to go back a long, long time. But I mean, it's very, I think, realistic here. I think Raynor obviously has the hype behind it. But
Yeah.
dude, we just saw Thermal walk past us. He's winking at people. He's smiling. He's got Shibu cheering him on. He's looking great.
The next match shaping up to be absolutely epic as we have that next quarterfinal coming up. It is going to be Thermal playing up against our young Titan Rainer. As you can see our schedule, we're getting towards the end of this tournament. Don't even have our TBD filled out for the end there. This one's going to decide who goes up against Time. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope you're having as much of a blast as we are here in Montreal. We'll be right back with our next series. You're watching the World Championship Series.